Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Costin Bănescu, also known as Alien Ape Star, and today we're going to work on watercolor pencil drawing, starting from a 3D reference I produced myself. And I hope you enjoy. All that being said, I want to address something else before we start. The previous video I made about how to draw eyes correctly got a copyright strike because it was enforced by Sony Music because I used the entire intro clip from the anime Dan Dan Dan. So this time I won't be using any of their music, showing any of their images, maybe just like a very small crop of the way they show the eyes, just to keep it safe. Yeah. So, and you might be wondering why I have this thing strapped to my chest. Well, because I can turn the camera around and I can mount it here. And then I can have my hands free. So we got everything set up. We also have a very needy cat here. Come on. Yeah, you know you want it. Fresh cup of coffee as well. And these are the references. The 3D reference I made myself, some photo references, some watercolor pencil reference and proportions. And we can just start. Let's see. Maybe with the red, with the pinkish red, something like that. Okay. I haven't done this in a while. Here goes nothing. So what I'm thinking about right now is, this is a portrait, so I need to, if I'm drawing the same angle as the reference, so the character looking to the left, I'll need to leave a bit more breathing room to the left. I mean, the face is facing the left, but the eyes are looking towards us. So that means I'll need to do something like this, leave a bit more room on the left side. And now I'm just doing like human proportions, just marking the eyes softly. And now I'm looking at the snout, right? So this is like a realistic fox, this is like a too bigger snout. This is what I could do with the viroid, so like this is the maximum that the settings can push. So that's not, it's too little. And it's okay. It's with the noises. Anyway, and this might be the good middle point. But let's see. So I'm marking the edges of the face, and if we go from the middle, maybe something like this could work. Yeah. Yeah, something like this. The chin can be a bit smaller. the jaw a bit more defined. I'm not going too much into what she's dressed with, so I'm just gonna mark the shoulder here and just leave it at that. And the neck and the shoulder on this side. Yeah, and then looking at the hair a little bit, nothing too fancy. Yeah, and the ears, maybe the ones in the ref, they're too sharp, so maybe something a bit more rounded. Could work. Yeah, this could work. Okay, maybe this cheek is a bit too low. Maybe it can be a bit higher. Something like that. It's okay, I'm talking. What's with these noises? Can you just be quiet? Jeez. Okay. Then a bit more here. Now I think I could just mark the eyes a little bit more. I'm not going into too much detail yet. Just separate the orange side of the fur here on the neck as well. Okay, and now I need an orange pencil. So like this. Yeah, this one could work. Okay. So I'm just going over doing a base orange color. Nothing too fancy. I'm kind of going on the direction of the shape as much as possible. It's okay, you're pouring too loud. What's with the noises? Oh my god. Can you just be quiet? Be quiet. Okay, I'm back. So again, nothing fancy. Maybe on the neck side a little bit here on the back of the neck. And the ears. Okay, now I can go over a little bit with some shading. So a little bit darker. In the areas where I know it's going to be darker for sure. Like under the hairline here and above the eye. And kind of defining the snout or the nose area. A little bit here under the cheek. And here at the base of the jaw. Behind where the human ear would be. But this is a fox, so... Yeah, okay. Now I want to go into the hair. So let's see, what colors do we have? What is like brown, kind of like a reddish brown. Do I have anything like that? I just want this like dark red. Maybe these two could work together. Yeah, okay, I'll start with the red. Again, nothing too fancy, just like filling in the areas and start to define the hair a little bit. And again, going on in the direction of the volumes and shapes, because that will help us later when we start to define things, to help it like make a little bit more sense. And as you can see, like I'm using the side of the pencil, because in a way now while I'm drawing, I'm also sharpening it, because when I want to go into details, I can use that sharp point. Okay, I can also start to define the eyes a little bit more. So just working on just the eyelids and let's say the mascara. Because the eyelids are on like on the round, like the eyes is round, then you need to kind of show this, in the angle, like this arch is more open, this one is more closed, right? Because this is the eye that goes that way. Okay. And now, of course, we can go with the darker one, like the brown pencil, to define some areas. So what I want to do is I want to darken the tips of the hair strands a little bit, but also I want to darken the edge here where it goes into the light, because I want to make some pretty reflections here. That will give it a bit more volume, Okay. We can go to the top of the hair as well, do the same. Yeah, so in the back of the hair, I do the same thing. We darken here a little bit. Trying to keep the strands a little bit separated as well. Also, what we could do is also darken the tips of the ears. because as you can see in the reference, the tips of the fox ears are black actually. So maybe we can make them a dark brown or something. But this is where the ear is like open to us, so we're just gonna go on the edge, and here is like the back of this other ear. So I'm gonna go a bit lower. And with this dark brown I can also go into the eyes area a little bit more. Okay, and what I could also do now is start to work on the eyes a little bit more. So just like working on the iris a little bit to define it. And then just by looking at the reference and the 3D, like you can see that like the shape of the pupil, so the black of the eye, it's kind of like almost like a cat, so it's almost like a sharp oval. It's not perfectly round. So we need to do that as well. So it might be something like this. Notice I'm not going very dark up, because I know around there somewhere is going to be like a specular light. So I'm leaving room for that. I'm going to the other eye as well. And the specular light could be here. And then this can be here. I mean, I could go over black with this. But yeah. So I can now explain what I meant with the eye in the previous video. That's like been taken down. So whenever you're working on the eyes, in most situations you can assume that the light is coming from above, right? So if the light is coming from above, the specular light is going to be in the upper area of the eye. You know, those white light specks. And then the iris is going to be darker on that side because it's shaded by the upper eyelid, and that shade is gonna make this like a high contrast between the dark part of the iris and then the bright part of the specular. And that's gonna make it look realistic and nice. And the reason that's the case is I can show you. You can make like a little experiment. Just get a sip of coffee. So you can just take like a normal glass bowl. Just find a glass bowl in your kitchen and a simple plate. So you can imagine that this plate is actually the color part of the eye. So this flat part, it should be dark, is the pupil. So it's a hole that the light goes into the eye. And as you can see, the light coming from the window, right? It's already making a shade here because of the angle of this plate. This plate is not perfectly flat, see? It's similar to the iris. So the light will actually hit here, so the lower part of the iris will be brighter and the top part will be darker, right? There's no eyelid here, but if you put an eyelid here, it's even darker, see? Imagine this is the eyelid of the eye. Now, if we put the glass bowl on top, you can understand what's happening with the specular. So see, the specular hits here on top of the shaded part of the iris. So no matter where we rotate, how we look at this, the specular light will always be on top of the shaded part of the iris, right? Because the light is coming from this side, it bounces back on the transparent part of the eye, and then because this part is shaded, creates this nice contrast between the specular light and then the dark side behind, and then it also bounces back inside the eye in the iris, bouncing back from this lower side, right? So no matter how you rotate this, you will see it's the same thing, right? So this is an easy experiment you can do just with a plate and a glass bowl to understand how the light works in the eye. Okay, so back to our drawing. How does that help us? So if we simplify things a lot, what we need to do is just shade this part of the iris a lot, and then lift that specular white here. And if you want to go fancy, give it a bit more depth, you can make this part warmer and this part colder. Okay? So that's how you make an eye look nice and sort of realistic when I understand the physics of the light in the eye. Okay, so we can stop at this stage, and then in the next one, we can add some water and see what happens. Okay, so we are back with water and brush. And because these are watercolor pencils, we can do nice stuff like this. Dissolving them carefully. Now I gotta be careful because this is set vertically on an easel, so if I put too much water, then it will just run off in an ugly way, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm trying to distribute the water as evenly as I can. And just in case there's too much water pooling down in the lower side like it's happening here, not a big problem. We have this bit of paper to help us in this situation. So I'm gently tapping it to remove the water. Okay. Now what you don't want to do when you're working with watercolor pencils and you're applying the water layer is you don't want to rub it in too much. Just like, give it like a very gentle tap, because you don't want the entire texture to disappear. You still want to see that, like the hatching, Some of it will dissolve quite a lot. So you don't even need to press that hard, just like gently, smoothly just go around the area. Okay, let's go up in the ears area, and I'm trying to color block, so like going over only on the orange, because I don't want the colors to bleed between each other. When you have too much water, you can just press your brush against the wall of the container you have your water in. In my case, it's like a glass. It's just a glass. Okay, so now we can wait for this to dry a little bit, and this area is already starting to dry. So now we can move to a different color. So we can work on the hair. And again, we don't take too much water, just a little bit. And then we just very gently kind of massage it onto the area. Because the water will also be soaked into the paper slowly What we don't want to do is, again, we don't want to press too hard and then just erase all the lines, all the beautiful texture that the watercolor pencil brought to this drawing. And as you can see, like, I'm still going in the same direction as the pencil. And that's the exact reason I told you before, to not just erase all these lines. That's the main reason we do this. We do it like this. And we go in the lower side of the hair. And yeah, you can see here there's a little bit too much water pooling down here as well. So we need to fix that really quick. Unless you want it to look a bit more artistic and you don't mind, you know, those happy accidents, let's say. And then let's work on the top of the hair now. And what you can also do is, like, you notice, like, when you put water on top, the brush will also pick up a little bit of the watercolor pigment. So you can just go down and, like, do these very fine lines to simulate the hair going down on those shiny parts. It's not going to be very visible, but you know. Okay. And then the dark part of the ears, now that this orange part is dry, we can safely go here without them bleeding into the orange side. And see what I mean? Like, if I rub here a lot, all that texture is gonna go away, and I don't really want that to happen. So I'm keeping it contained. Yeah, it's getting there. And now for the eyes, I don't want to use this large brush, so I'm going to take a smaller one. This one's a bit more detailed. It's better for details. It still has like a bit of a stiff tip and not very sharp, a little bit flat, see? Okay. First this eye. And again, I don't want to put too much water. The eyes are important, so I don't want to mess it up. So I'm just, you know, not in a big hurry with this. Especially when it comes to the iris. Yeah, and let's work on the upper eyelid and the mascara area. This will be way darker later, so don't worry about that. Same with the pupil here. Alright. There's something we forgot to work on, is the nose. The nose is darker, so can just take like a dark brown and work on the nose a little bit. And now I'm thinking about how the light hits this nose, so probably it's going to be way darker facing us, in the area that's facing us, and then a bit brighter on top, maybe having a little bit of a specular there. Maybe the lips are also a bit darker, so just like a very thin line, nothing too fancy. Right, and then we can come with the brush. Alright, very good now. So now that we finished with the watercolor step, we can use just normal colored pencils. So these are not watercolor pencils. They are, you can see, Kohinoor Polycolor hard mode. So let's see, this is dark, this is darker, this is a bit red. Yeah, maybe I can use these three. Okay, so let's work on the hair a little bit more to fill it in a little bit more. This pencil is a bit different. It's Conte Evolution, and this is not wood, it's like the polymer or something, so they're saving the trees. I have this since like a long time ago, maybe more than 20 years ago, so it's a vintage pencil. Anyway, here we go. It's not going that dark. Maybe this is not a good idea. Let's try with this one. Yeah, much better. So again, I'm using the side of the pencil to like fill in these areas, make it a bit more compact. Going on the back side here of the hair. And this other side as well. And going up on the ears as well a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to use the tip to add a bit more detail, especially in the eyes area. So I'm going to press a bit harder and with the tip to make this area a bit darker. So to define this a little bit more. And of course, going into the pupil, maybe we should use something darker, like a darker brown or something like that. I'm still shying away from using pure black. This makes the eye pop a bit more. And this other side as well. Then going back to that brown for this other eye. And then I can darken this one a little bit more. And we can also adjust the nose a bit. And the lips. And now we can go into adding some details in the hair, kind of defining the hair strands a bit more with the tip, pressing down a bit harder. Again, this doesn't need to be super perfect. It can be a bit more loose. And we can work on the ears a little bit. And my daughter woke up, so I'm ready now. Yeah, I can scan this and continue digitally later. I'm happy how it turned out. Cool.